Well, hello, friends. My name is Host Eric. I'm the host of Talking with Famous People, and I'm here today with the high-promising title, Personality Made Easy, and a determination to try to communicate as effectively with everybody as possible regarding specifically topic of cognitive functions of personality. So, before I get any questions or engagement from anybody, I'd like to begin by saying there's a finite number of factors in attention that we can articulate. You know? Like, where's the attention directed? Externally or publicly or privately? To public things or private things? Emailed anthrax? No. You're the real heroes. As Highlander famously said. So in other words, when we're talking about paying attention, we're talking about different kinds of things, right? Some of them are cognitive processes that pay attention by focusing on things outside of themselves, right? Some kinds of paying attention focus on things inside of themselves. So that's one big distinction to make, right? And that is what it means to have extroverted functions or introverted functions. Is the attention internal, private, you might say, or is the attention towards things that are public? When am I having my intuitive supremacist rally? Probably not going to host one of those anytime soon. Hi, host Eric. Do you see my profile? Jackie Kitty. You mean, do I see your profile picture? Let's see what it looks like. If I make it bigger. I can't tell really what it looks like. My eyes aren't that good for small things. It looks like a cartoon character. You want me to turn it up a bit? Oh, I see why. Doy. I actually have it turned down there a little bit, but I do have it a little bit low. I try not to peak, you know, without a compressor. You run one way or the other. You peak or you're a little low. There was a video, the intelligence video was very frustrating to me because that was an audio problem I didn't pick up on. It wasn't just a level slightly low or whatever, you know. Pamphlets, huh? Well, let's talk a little bit more about this, you know, the different ways that the different factors we have to consider when talking about attention. So is the attention paid publicly or privately? That's one kind of delineation that needs to be made, and that's determined by extroverted or introverted. Then another delineation is a function communicative or non-communicative, which is to say, is it FETINENI, in which case it's communication based, or is it SESIFITE, in which case it's experience based. So another distinction that needs to be made by attention is people pay different kinds of attention. So there are knowledge function, action functions, deliberation functions, and interface functions. But they also, each of those functions is going to factor into a more or less voluntary or more or less involuntary role. Now, I got this notion from Yabili, whatever his name is. So I want to continue. I'll continue to note this To add what filters? So it's like when we're talking about a function, it's doing a certain kind of thing. It's either a knowledge function, in which case it's receiving information and knowing about it from one place or another. Each of these functions is going to link either to the self or the outside world. So your communication functions link to the outside world. The non-communication functions link to the personal world. Now note that the personal world is different than the private world, right? So there's another distinction to be made there. And then a final really critical distinction to be made is how do we represent information flow? How do we represent information flow with these fluid processes in a way that's not too reductive, but that meaningfully could allow us to symbolize it? Because you have to break things down to binaries at some point if you're going to model it. I think that's very common, Eli, that psychiatrists are not at all interested in MBTI. And the reason is because it runs afoul of specifically what therapists and psychiatrists are intending to do. They're intending to fix pathologies, right? But cognitive functions depathologizes a lot of stuff and says, look, this is just an expression of my configuration. There's nothing wrong with me. It's one of the sort of the moral advantages that cognitive functions has. So, unfortunately, to the extent that that's the case, then there needs to be a bit of a paradigm shift in the pathology treating community such that they recognize that a good portion of their job is to say to people, this may deviate from the mean, but it is normal for you because of your cognitive function configuration. You shouldn't feel bad or attacked because you're not Eric, I don't know if you've updated it in a while. I remember a few years ago you made that ungodly, dense, and ugly typology document, albeit amazing content. Great job, but would you be interested in publishing it as a book with help? Yeah, I would, Matt Evans. I mean, I've got the real book in progress, but it's not very far in progress. I got like 20 pages, and I kind of burned out or something. If you want to co-write it with me, that'd be fine. We could have some meetings. The real question is, do you have follow through? That's the real question. If you have follow through, and want to make it happen, it'll happen. Well, but that's the thing. It's like, if you want to have a meeting with me about where this book's going and what the organization of it is, and you want to try to like write, like me outline some things, you write some chapters, and we work together on it and stuff. We'll get it done. If you're motivated like that, if you're a doer and a finisher and a willing to sometimes hound Eric when he's not being responsive and stuff, it'll happen. But I don't know if you're that person or not. Oh, you're an ESTP? Well, maybe it would happen then. You want to co-write a book with me? If you've got the follow through and consistency to stick with bugging me about it and making sure we do it like on a regular, a couple times a week, work together and make progress, man, it'll get done pretty quick. I mean, I got a lot of stuff to say, but I know what it is. I can explain it to you. You can help me sort of write out the pias and the pews. That'd be cool. Or could be successful, you know. We could make some arrangement to split the proceeds. Yeah, I totally would be. I'm totally interested in others facilitating my projects on spec. I think that's a great thing. I just can't ever seem to get it to happen. And even when somebody facilitates just sort of what do you call it? Altruistically, well, it kind of falls apart. Like, Fate Wind was trying to get me set up to go to debate with this modern day debate thing. But the problem is, he got modern day debate interested in maybe having me involved because he positioned my arguments as wildly, more bold in their claims than they ever have been. And so the guy said, wow, this is a debate. Coach willing to debate this ridiculous topic. Sure, that should freeze from fireworks. Of course, that's not my position at all. And it's interesting the way that people reduce my nuanced, correct positions to either black or white. Like, oh, Eric's anti-vax. Eric's anti-mask. I'm neither anti-mask nor anti-vax. I'm just peeing. Juxtaposed, I'm really sorry to hear that. That is a huge problem. And, yeah, for sure. No, we'll make a fair agreement. You know, we don't need to milk anything. Trust me. We don't need to milk it. I've got plenty to say. The problem is sometimes I want to explain too much sort of background stuff. You have the $1 million answer, but you need help getting the word out. Is it Spiro Agnew? Former Nixon vice president? Is that the word you were looking for? Yeah, don't try to reformat that document. You gotta look at the new document where it's structured like a book instead of just a compilation of tables and stuff. Nixon was an underrated president. Well, okay, cool. Yeah, you got my email and my phone and stuff. If you could bring enthusiasm for the project, I'll be right there with you and we'll get a lot of shit done. If instead you bring Eeyore to the project, then wah wah. Eli Laos, yes alien, says, I know I myself was homeless for a while due to mental health. I'm really sorry to hear that, and I think it's a problem. I don't know how widely this is true, but I suspect that a lot of people who are sustaining ongoing mental health management difficulties are simply not being treated properly with the right drugs. I have become something of an advocate for mental health rights, I guess. and the normalization and acceptance of real mental illnesses as being significant matters, medical matters, you know? It's like, the problem is psychology mushes a bunch of stuff together. Psychology mushes things like disorders that are derived from, say, trauma and actual real things like bipolar. What's Spiro Agnew? He was Nixon's vice president. I always thought he had a funny name. I always imagine Nixon in the Oval Office going, "Did you ever know that you're my Spiro?"
Thank you for helping me out with that.
Well, I wasn't helping you out. I was just smoking a bowl.
Well, you cleared out my bowl, so thank you.
Well, here's the thing that I've experienced, and I know how risky it is to generalize from my own experience, but I've experienced an appalling willingness on the part of a lot of people in the life of somebody who's been diagnosed with a mental illness to treat them as less than fully human, to stop listening to what they say, to assume that their opinions can't be trusted or aren't valid anymore because they're crazy after all, right? Well, that is just not okay. It's like, I've seen Rachel at probably her absolute craziest.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was like in previous ones, but
No, it topped the cake, let me tell you.
you were nutso, right? The thing is, even no matter how crazy she was, she was not telling lies. You know? Nothing she was saying was false or a lie, really. She was just being maximum cunt, you know? To everybody, you know? And it was very difficult getting her admitted to a hospital. She was undergoing a hospital requiring emergency that was just as significant as if you were having an appendicitis or something. And yet, hospitals didn't want to take her. This kind of shit is fucking appalling. When you see Rachel, you get what I'm talking about. If you saw Rachel back when it wasn't managed, and if you were here the night that she squirted the hose in the garage, and was like hallucinating that her parents were in my dad's car having sex and stuff.
Yeah, I was hallucinating. It was really the worst ever.
Mistaking me for her ex-boyfriend Billy, that's crazy, you know? And running around the neighborhood pulling out people's Christmas lights. So the thing is, that's crazy. But I was always, despite the craziness, I was working with her to the best of my ability to still respect her autonomy. You know? I was talking to her about how I really needed her cooperation to get admitted to a hospital. And she was intermittently cooperative. But in the end, she went out of her way to be cooperative. In other words, she went in there and she made the gestures of violence that she needed to get admitted without actually hitting anybody.
No.
And, I mean, that's pretty fucking insane, you know? The thing is, despite the sheer insanity, underneath it, Rachel wasn't... When she wasn't confused, like when she was thinking I was Billy or stuff like that, she wasn't lying. She wasn't misrepresenting things. She was a better source regarding her own state of being than any third party. And see, that's the thing I think people forget. It's like, oh, well, they're crazy, so you can't trust what they say about themselves. That's not true. You know, Rachel was consistently reliable when I was talking to her about who, like what we should do, you know, what she wanted to do. And she was having an internal battle between knowing she needed to go to the hospital and not wanting to get admitted to the hospital, and probably at the same time thinking, well, this relationship's over.
Yeah.
And a bunch of other shit, you know? But nobody would have treated her like that, or she would have had to have any of those thoughts if she had had appendicitis, right? Has Rachel been diagnosed with any mental health disease? She's diagnosed bipolar mania. But the thing is, the key thing to note here is she has a history of psychotic breaks requiring hospitalizations. And when you see one and you realize how real it is and how crazy it is, then all of a sudden you have a wake-up call if you're an SI person. I need to experience things to believe in them. Oh, you were actually mentally ill. Oh, okay. This is crazy. Well, it turns out, though, that the problem was not Rachel's mental illness. The problem was the persistent failure and almost obstruction to Rachel getting better that she encountered in the mental health facility she attended in New York. Mm-hmm. And the lack of autonomy she had over her own treatment, how she was treated as a human being, her ability to be an equal member of the family, and all kinds of shit like that. It was an absolute nightmare. So it's like, at no point have I seen Rachel be less than the best person to consult about her own state of being. And nobody else seems to give that reality credit. It's like she was proved right with the marijuana all along. You know, her one of the big points of conflict when she was back in New York was the doctors and the mom had decided firmly that the real problem here was marijuana, and she had a cannabis addiction. That's what was making her crazy. Well, the thing is, what I'm saying here, Jackie Kitty, when I say crazy or mentally ill, I'm not using it in a pejorative fashion because I see it as Rachel having something like a thyroid problem for which she has to take thyroid medicine every day or else she gets sick, you know? And as long as she does take her thyroid medicine every day, she's perfectly sane. So my point is that until we treat mental illness like we treat physical illness, which is to say, she's been treated, she should have no residual denial of autonomy or judgment. Not that there should ever have been any in the first place, really. It's like, even if you think a family member is crazy and you don't trust their judgment, respect them. Right? engage them about that topic at least. What do you think? Okay, so let me answer a couple of interesting questions here that I've seen that I want to address. I want to write an address on them. My return address, perhaps. Something else, who knows? It's a mystery. I've got the hiccups, yes I do. If they disturb you, you should go poo. Okay. So I'm going back up here. INFJ Forever says, who's Billy? Billy is Rachel's ex-boyfriend, a few ex-boyfriends back. But like I guess maybe the first serious boyfriend that she lived with and thought about maybe getting married at some point, or
Yeah, like that.
the first one of those relationships for her. So next, calling, I addressed that. Jackie, I actually take Adderall for my diagnosed ADHD. I know Eric doesn't believe in the validity of ADHD. Is that true? Well, okay. I don't believe that my cognitive function stack is a disorder. I think it's a configuration that's not necessarily good at upholding some of the most common social norms that people expect. So it's like people expect a lot of follow through, a lot of doing per idea. In general, there's an expectation of the world that for every idea you have, there should be a lot of doing. Well, I'm the opposite. I have a lot of ideas for a little doing. And that's never going to validate as normal. And to the extent that I'm being required to jump through a bunch of hoops that I see as pointless, and I'm failing to jump through them, then I'm failing to follow through adequately to be said to be functioning healthily. So they call it a disorder. But it really is just my cognitive function stack. Do I function better on amphetamines? Well, yeah, I do a better job of meeting those social norms. Does that mean that there was something wrong with me that was treated by the drug? No. So that's my response to that. What do you think about Eastern philosophy plus practices in relation to mental and emotional energy or healing? I heard you disagree with some of Eckhart Tolle's side. As ideas. Well, I mean, I think that it's totalizing, right? It's the same problem that every spiritual tradition has. It's the totalized cognitive function bias of someone and a group of acolytes who adopted this notion. If you're talking about Eastern philosophy, it's generally an NISE heavy kind of a thing. Like being in a state of NI receptiveness for a long time, and that's it, is Zen meditation. Try not to think of things. Don't remember things. Don't know from your personal experience. Just be open to intuiting about the world. And don't have any data even. Right? So you're trying to intuit on the largest frame possible. The grandest truth of connectivity in some regard. Very NI. Not good for NEDOMs. Not a good way to meditate, a particularly uncomfortable way to meditate, and not nearly as effective as taking a bath and brushing my teeth and maybe taking a nap. Really, the ADHD has to do with poor executive function as well. Okay, so Valerie makes a common mistake here that is just another example of cognitive function bias. So, look, if I am coming up with a shit ton of ideas, then I am failing to follow through on most of them most of the time. So to say that I have, therefore, an executive function disorder is to say that ideation is the wrong kind of doing. It's a normative claim. Those kind of disorders is what I'm talking about. Those kind of cognitive function bias disorders that impose a normative claim on people without any warrant whatsoever, right? There's absolutely no reason to believe that my lack of follow through represents a disorder any more than there's a reason to believe that their lack of ideation represents a disorder. You can't have one without sacrificing some of the other, right? And you see it maximally so in the INFP and INTP, who have all ideation and no execution. Well, it's debilitating contextually, right? We can imagine a context in which it's not debilitating, in which there's just the right amount of ongoing new ideas to be explored, where there's some sort of external structure that maximally takes advantage of an ENTP's bounce around kind of good idea thing. You can certainly imagine such a context. It's just that it's not a skill set that the world rewards very much because it doesn't concretize to profit very much, you know? Unless you're structured by some external thing. So a lot of times we'll say, stop thinking and start doing. You're overthinking things. You just need to get out of your head and get out of the house. All that kind of stuff, right? Those are extroverted sensors. I mean, they're extroverted people who are also sensors. Those are very sensory, extroverted sensory answers. The thing is, yes, there's a presumption about what ought to be the priority that comes into play when they say, you know, you may find it debilitating, Valerie, and you may find it debilitating because you want to attain on those social norms. And it's not permitting you to attain on those social norms because your extroverted intuition is your tool function, which means it's the hammer you use for every nail, even when the nail needs to be screwed in for some reason. Hey Eric, I'm scared to drive with my ENTP friend on vacation. I'm INFP. ENTPs are great drivers. You don't need to worry about anything. Unless he's too young. As long as he's over 30, he's fine. And not a drinker. If he's a drunk, he'll still probably do fine. ENTPs have a weird way of have a weird Teflon coating over us. Some of us do, anyway. I do, you know. I've made plenty of mistakes that could have gone terribly, and it just, luck means it gets the very light version of it, you know?
I like that there's two of you on the screen.
Yeah, there's the nice one who's telling you how easy it is, and then there's this regular one who's kind of blander in color.
No, he's my bae.
Thanks, darling.
You're welcome.
Have I told you that I love you with my emotion bone?
Oh my gosh! Thank you so much for loving me with your emotion bone.
Eric, I'll say it again, and I'm sorry. Anarchism as an idea is fun to engage with. I'm sorry. Well, it can be fun to engage with. I mean, I enjoy playing badminton with anarchism. Even though the anarchists are always using everything but a proper shuttlecock, you know. So I said, hey, why don't you go do the breaststroke? You don't know how to play badminton.
Oh, Eric, you're so funny.
Is taking Adderall to enhance your cognitive functioning morally questionable? I mean, I'm not enhancing my cognitive functioning. I'm enhancing my output, my extroversion mostly. You mean, is it bad to do it because it's a performance-enhancing drug? No, because the other thing is, there's no free lunch. For every up period and productivity period that you gain from Adderall, you lose productivity and have a down period that correlates with it until you get the equivalent amount of sleep to build up your dopamine reserves again. So it's a strategy of getting through a month's worth of work and stuff, right? It's a strategy. It's not a better strategy or a worse strategy. It's a functional strategy for me. And that may not always be the case, but I find I prefer to operate in this fashion. The idea that you could manage your own biochemistry, mental well-being, sense of satisfaction in self or whatever, in ways that are optimal for you, and that nobody else could possibly tell you how to manage that better, really, seems a no-brainer, you know? It's like, I'm not advocating for other people to follow my footsteps here. I'm saying, for quite a while, this has worked for me pretty well. It does require increasing amounts of rest for the amount of thwack. It used to be, it would seem like I'd run a surplus. Like, I could get away with losing more sleep than I had to regain sometimes. And, you know, I did a lot of cleaning up and stuff last night, just messing with the fish tank. And, you know, it feels good to do SI stuff. It's always gratifying for me to do that, to clean up and get stuff organized. It makes me feel like less anxious. Sometimes there's dread that goes along with not feeling on top of my shit, you know. So Adderall helps me handle that shit in bursts. Yeah, Ritalin is... Don't bother. Yeah. What's interesting is, I would say that the thing that you could call, would be most demonstrative as willpower, is most commonly found in SE6. ESFJs, ESTJs tend to have and execute willpower. It comes naturally to them because they know their own experience. They remember what their plan is. They don't come up with a bunch of other plans besides willpower. My dad did it for his whole life. He'd say, I'm drinking too much. I'm going to quit drinking for 2 weeks. And then he would. And then after 2 weeks, he'd start drinking again.
My mom's always going on diets. She is a advocate, or I'd say, at least she would say it worked for her, of Weight Watchers. She was always dieting.
Well, I'm sure she applied it consistently, you know?
Consistently.
It's like, that's what it means to have SI tool and SE6, is you're applying that shit consistently. And, well, this is the thing. willpower is, I would say, the way I'm envisioning it is a long-term willingness to stick to a program. That's maximally attained by ESFJs and ESTJs. Okay? So, the reason ESTPs do not even come close to ESTJs or ESFJs in their capacity to make and stick to and follow through on long-term plans is because SE is an opportunistic function. And you have full capacity to use it. It's voluntary. So you're going to take opportunities that disrupt current plans. In contrast, in the 6th slot, it's demonstrative. It's not really voluntary. It's an almost involuntary response to being bidden to provide it by the world. And as a consequence, it plays out as the necessary part to make their SI work, you know, the follow-through part of it.
I found this dress that's red that I like in my size. They only had one left. Let's finger cross it. Just don't tell me that I look like
Nancy Reagan?
Yeah.
I'll think of somebody else who looks good in red. How about Santa Claus?
Sure.
Who
I
else,
don't know why.
Who else looks good in
Santa
red?
Claus seems better than Nancy Reagan.
Oh, there's my dad.
Dad's got pizza. Got some pizza.
Come on in, Dad. Wow, thank you.
Thank
so
you.
much. We got to the pizza pie.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, guys. You see the extra stuff they put on there.
I mean, if you talk about willpower, like the ESTP has much more capacity to for there to be a group of people. The ESTJ and ESFP have their plan they want to follow through with, and the ESTP is the one who may have the willpower to disrupt all that and say, no, let's all of a sudden go here instead. That kind of willpower is a fair thing to say. Like in the short term, the ESTP can bowl over people into doing shit. ESTPs are good into talking people into doing shit. Like, no, jump off that cliff. It's a good idea. You should try it. After you go, maybe I'll try it. After see if you die. The ESFP goes first. ESTP tells somebody else to do it. See if it's safe first. Good job, Mystery Cracker. And I don't mean that in a racially derogative way.
What race are you right now?
I think I'm Liechtensteinian.
I think you are too.
I'm pretty sure I'm
The third
Liechtensteinian
time
right
you
now.
brought up Liechtenstein.
I can feel the Liechtensteinian race flowing through my blood. Right now, what I want to say is something very important. Right now, I am a native-born Lithuanian Asian woman in Vancouver. So,
But that's not your race, right?
well, my race is Lithuanian, but my appearance is Asian.
I thought it was Liechtenstein.
I mean, I'm sorry, Liechtensteinian.
Liechtensteinian, and you're a woman who lives in Canada?
Mm-hmm. So my point is, don't get me confused for Jackie Kitty if you see us. I may be living there, but my race is Liechtensteinian. I may look Asian, but that's just a physical fluke. I got the full Asian features this time. I got the jet black hair. Naturally, I got the affinity for seafood. And most of all, you know what I got. The most important part of being Asian. I got the slanty eyes. What? Eric, you can't say that. You can't say slanty eyes. Why not? I mean, the thing is, it is the truth that to the extent that people from Asia look different from people who are not from Asia, one of the key distinctions is that their eyes are more, what do you want to call it? You know? What do you want to call it?
I don't know. I'm not going to go there. Because to me, I was always taught that they were slanted.
Well,
but
look,
they don't necessarily like being called.
It's one of those words that's been divorced from just about every other context, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you're walking down a ramp with an Asian person and you say, man, this is a really slanty ramp, then they'll probably look at you funny. Juxtaposed, your fear is unjustified. I know how to successfully walk these lines and not... no, very few people do, but I do. I'm never actually racist. I'm quite the opposite of racist. You know? But I do like to point out, like, things that, such as... So, if one were to refer to the distinct eye shape of those from Asia, what would be the proper way to call it? Would you say they have Oriental eyes? Would you say they have width reduced eyes? You know?
Some may say hooded.
Well, I mean, you could just describe them in the most natural term, which would be slanted, I guess. Now, maybe it's the Y at the end that makes people get offensive, right? It's not slanted, it's slanty, right? But people go, no, that's horrible. It's slant. They can't be slanty. They got to be slanted. Well, let me tell you something else that's slanted. The reasoning behind this offensiveness about calling people's eyes slanty. I've got pretty slanty eyes, you know, much more so than compared to Rachel. My eyes are way more slanty than Rachel's eyes, you know. I've got the wrinkles of a walrus. You know, white guys wrinkle, one might say. I'm not white right now, but if I were. Is that an unacceptable thing to point out? If you're gonna play make believe with race stuff and try to draw distinctions, why not actually draw meaningful distinctions? I mean, my point is, of course, that race is absolutely ridiculous, and so getting offended over shit like that is absolutely ridiculous. That nobody could possibly take race as a concept seriously, so whatever you're saying about it must be a joke. Yeah, you can call me, sure. That's what it's up there for. So that people can call me and say, "Hi, Eric," and I'll say, "Hey, how you doing?" And you'll say, "Fine." I'm fine too. Isn't that amazing?
Okay, so like, so Matt Evans says, honestly, the problem is never with a description of said characteristic. It's always that the description of the characteristic is typically accompanied by some type of prejudice and then the disrespects and then the descript. So, like, I would say that if you want to say Asian eyes are almond eyes that are slanted and hooded. They're hooded, slanted, and almond shaped. And those are 3 descriptions for Asian eyes.
Almond slanted eyes. I mean, the thing is, like, okay, when I'm watching a sporting event, let's say it's Scotland versus, I don't know, Iran or something. Scotland's got one dark-skinned guy on their team. The rest of them are light-skinned guys. I mean, since I don't know the players' names, it's international soccer, I'm going to say stuff like, oh, that black guy is really good. But that's racist, right? Even though it's the easiest way to distinguish the individual. Of course, I'd actually say that dark-skinned fellow is quite good. So there were 2 dark-skinned fellows on England's soccer team, and one of them was badass, and the other one kept fucking up.
Soccer.
Yeah, soccer kept fucking up, and Sterling was badass. So, I was saying, no, not that one, the other one. but it's like, if obvious distinctions make clarity and communication easier when identifying individuals, what's the problem?
But say if you have baby soft skin, is that ageist?
It is terribly ageist.
You do have baby soft skin though. It's so nice.
Walk on my way. I've got a fly on my toe.
Oh no.
I don't need to kill it. I've come up with a new rule for the universe, which is no matter how few flies you let in, nor how many flies you kill, there's always at least one more fly to kill. Do you think this is a universal law? It's like Strauss's law, okay? I think it's pretty close. A couple hours. Who wants to agree with me? I would never say anything like that, you know? I just think it's funny that people get so sensitive over certain words. Like somebody in a sports title after Jeremy Lin had a bad game titled the article "A Chink in the Armor," and he got fired for that shit. But even though it's funny, you know, it's a funny post-racism pun. If you're post-racism, if you're still stuck in it, then You know, I was so enamored with the 13-year-old Brazilian girl's response to the question she received at the Olympics. She was asked about gender inequality in sports, and she looked skeptical, like, what? And laughed and said, there's no gender inequality in sports. It's like, okay, that girl is telling the truth based on her experience, and nothing but the truth based on her experience.
I have a question. Do you think she's a 7?
Probably. I don't know, though. Hard to tell.
Brazil seems like a 7 kind of place to
Yeah,
me.
they do samba a lot.
Her attitude that like, what are you talking about? Like, her outfit was different from, like, all the other skaters. She had, like, a polo shirt on. And basically, we were wearing, like, khakis that were rolled up. She had her own, like, style. So, it made me think that she could be a 7.
You know, it'd be a funny joke if I were like on an international soccer team. It was like all light-skinned people. I was playing like against African teams, all black-skinned people. I go up to them and say, "Hey, have you guys heard some of the shit these people are saying about you? I know it can't be true, but they were saying stuff like, because you got dark skin, you're like different or something. Have you ever heard of this before?" It's like,
have you ever heard of this before?
It's news to me. Let's see what they say. But that's a bit of a different point if you're using a derogatory term in your example, chink in the armor. Well, I mean, the thing is, it could have been any player who had a bad night after the team had been doing well, and they could have described that as a chink in the armor. Any player but Jeremy Lin, right? Because if it's Jeremy Lin, then it's a joke.
Oh my god.
It's a good joke, though. It's like, I'm sure Jeremy Lin is not going to fall over in sobbing tears for having somebody make a joke referring to him as a chank, you know? Yeah. Be a little bit grown up and laugh at racism because it's so vulgar and stupid, instead of taking it seriously, which just affords it more legitimacy.
Yeah.
It's like terrorists, right? Why do we afford them the legitimacy of calling them terrorists? They're just criminals. They're just international criminals. This is not Asian hate. This is Asian great. Ni hao. Ni hao ah.
Oh my god.
Dui, 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 dui hao. Ni hao, dui hao. Wadani, bye bye. That's my entirely non-racist imitation, completely accurate imitation of a middle-aged Chinese businesswoman receiving a phone call. Okay? It's what it is.
I'm crying.
I'm serious. That's how they do it. I've been around a lot of them for a long time. Ni hao. Dui, 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 dui hao, dui hao, dui. Bye bye. That's how it goes. Okay? Not racist. Remember, I'm Chinese. Okay? I've got karate to prove it.
Oh my gosh, I'm killing it.
Being fluid transracial means I've been all the races, all the disadvantaged people.
All the disadvantaged people?
I've been every form of savage you can imagine, from Aborigines to, Guatemalan peasants.
Shit. That's like a new level of wokeness.
Yeah. I was lynched in the deep south, back in
Oh my God.
back in like 60. The reason I'm still here,
60.
I abruptly changed race mid lynching.
Oh.
So they were like, "Wait a second, that's not a black man," and they cut me down.
Do you have any like trauma effects from living those lives?
I mean, I just think, whew, lucky timing on the change. I just random. What if I had changed into a Japanese person? I bet they would have just still lynched me.
Yeah.
I got real lucky that
They
time.
would have asked about your eyes.
They would have said, "What's the word for those eyes?" There's something different about them. They seem more slanty. No, I'm fluidly transracial, pissed off person. It's different, okay? I'm fluidly transracial. My race changes moment to moment, day to day, on an ongoing basis. Those people are just phonies. They're big phonies. Just like The Simpsons says. You guys are just a bunch of big phonies. That's what I say to them. Tiger Woods isn't transracial, and neither is that other lady. They both are either biracial or stupid, respectively. I'm transracial. What does that mean? It means I connected the railroad from the East Coast to the West Coast. Wait. That's transnational.
You are that too, aren't you?
What?
You're not transnational?
Well, transcontinental, I mean. That would be a transcontinental. Am I transcontinental is a really good question.
Yeah, that is the question that I'm asking.
And the answer is physically no. Physically, I'm not transcontinental. I am transracial, Jackie Kitty. I'm fluidly transracial. Right now, I am Inuit. That's why I'm microwaving some seal blubber. When I'm Inuit, I have I'm famished for seal blubber. It tastes like buttered croissants in my mouth. Good night, Matt Evans. Hey, Matt.
Hey, Matt Evans.
If you're still here, I want you to sleep really, really well, buddy. As you're going to sleep, I want you to remember this sound in your ear. Okay? Hey, it's gonna be all right. There, now Matt Evans should sleep fine. I fixed Matt Evans's sleep disorder in one hypnosis session. Matt, look into my eyes. Tonight, you will sleep like a log crossed with a baby, crossed with a dead person. When you awaken in the morning, you will have sawed myriad logs. You will be refreshed, renewed, empowered by the dew of morning and the increased reservoirs of dopamine you've built up over the night. When I snap my finger, you'll forget all of this, but it'll happen. There. Logs sleep beautifully. Everybody knows that. Sleep like a log, that means you sleep well. Sleep like a frog, on the other hand, frogs sleep a lot more like, what's something else that sleeps poorly? What's something that sleeps poorly? Besides humans?
Ants?
Ants. A shark. Cheetah. Okay. I
There you
go with
shark,
any of
cheetahs,
those.
Yeah.
I go with any of those.
I didn't know that cheetahs don't have trouble sleeping. I would just think that are like regular cats.
Well, they probably have fleas. I think meerkats. Meerkats don't necessarily get good sleep. A stranded man in the ocean with sharks. True. Not gonna get good sleep. Is Rachel also an ox? Nope, she's 100% human being. I have her pulling no plows out in the fields. And she lives in the house, not in the barn. Oh, you mean according to Chinese astrology. I should have read the second sentence first. No, she's not an ox. She's an RAT.
I'm born January 16th, so it was before the year of the ox. So I'm a late rat.
So
But
hold
yes,
on.
I was born in 1985.
If all skunks sleep with their nose stuck up their butt, and I sleep with my nose stuck up my butt, does that mean I'm a skunk?
That's a good question.
Where is the bed? The only bed, my dog. I don't want to sleep in my dog's bed. She's a rat and I'm a pig.
Yeah.
Together we eat all the trash.
Yeah, we do.
Apparently rats and pigs are, not ill-suited, right?
They're supposed to get along well.
And we do get along well.
We do. They say that rats gather a little bit more stuff than pigs do, and I would agree with that.
Well, I mean, I see it as more like,
you might not be a horse. You might not be a horse, the Gensennial.
I consume like a pig, you consume like a rat. And,
Yeah, I do.
And so it's like, we're at my pig's trough. You're fretting about your consumption, but compared to me, you're consuming like a rat and I'm consuming like a pig.
Yeah.
The new Wonder Years reboot was originally called the Wonder Years Black version. Did it have a lot of dark humor and murder and stuff?
That would be good.
I did the human benchmark test at some point. It's boring and stupid. And it made me hate everything. Turn into a nihilist. Shit on everything.
Nice, Elijah. Rats and dragons get along really well. They're part of the triad of the dragon, rat, and monkey.
Ooh, you're a dragon?
Mm-hmm.
If you had Chinese parents, they'd be happy.
They'd be very happy.
Yeah. But they say I'm a very dragon-like pig. They say, among the pigs, I'm the only one who can breathe fire. I can't fly, but I do have wings that are kind of leathery.
True. Your ears?
If you said which thing do you think I actually seem most like, besides pig, in the Chinese thing, what do you think it would be?
Based on like
Just your perceptions of me.
a horse.
A horse, huh?
Mm-hmm.
A horse. My kingdom for a horse.
A pig because you're so long, but your skin is so soft like a pig. You're like a baby piglet.
I'm I'm going to share with everybody a fact I shared yesterday. If you've heard it yesterday, I'm sorry to repeat it. But, you know what's a surprising fact? Is that a bat is a very close relative of a horse. It's like a tiny flying horse.
Yes.
Today you learned. Unless you learned it yesterday.
That's a really good factoid.
It is, yeah. This. Imagine making a saddle for one of those. Well, you have to make a very small rider. You know, you gotta really hunt the jockey ranks to find someone small enough to ride a bat.
Tinkerbell.
Why do so many stars die of drug abuse? I mean, it's only stars who die of drug abuse that get reported on. So, do stars really die of drug abuse at a particularly higher rate of dying of drug abuse than non-celebrities? Well, really hard to say because the only ones that get reported on are the celebrities. And even then, a lot of times, they're recuperating and needing a mental health break, you know. Having woken up for the 4th day in a row, passed out in a pool of her own vomit, she needed a mental health break. Oh, you mean she's drinking supermarket gin from morning to night?
Yeah.
Why did you just say that? It's like I'm having this problem with the pharmacy, right?
This is a good problem.
I know what the situation is. I know the answer to my question. But I keep wanting to talk to them and walk through the argumentation chains because they don't seem to want to actually tell me the truth about things. So here's the deal. As far as I can tell, the reality is this. The state of California or the federal government has made it such that mixed amphetamine salts, if that's your prescription, you can't get it before 2 days before your bottle's supposed to run out. Okay? But which is fine. But the problem with this is that what happens every month is I go, well, I'm not going to bother getting it early because if I get it early, I just get a text that says you can't pick it up for a few days. But then every month when I text it right on time, they say we need to order it. So this month I order it early. I get the text saying you can't pick it up for a couple of days. When I go on the day they say I can pick it up, which was today, first they tell me they had the day wrong. It's actually tomorrow. But most importantly, they tell me they need to order it. Okay?
It's so annoying.
So note, the doctor has sent them my prescription.
Today.
They've looked into it enough to know that I'm not ready to pick it up for a few days. But they've not checked to see if they have it when it is time for me to pick it up in a few days. Right? And so my question is going to be, look, I don't understand this. Normally, what you would tell me if there was a problem with you having to order my medication would be order it early. You know, refill your prescription early, and that way it'll be ready in plenty of time. Except I can't do that, or else I just get this text that says you can't pick it up yet. But they don't check to see if they have it, right? So, but here's the true answer, as far as I can tell. They're not allowed to keep it in stock. They have to basically order it per customer for some reason related to the federal government. In other words, they can't order it early for me. not only can I not get it early, but they can't order it early. This is my belief on how the thing actually works. But when I'm asking them questions about this, they're trying to avoid my questions and not answer me with the correct truth. And that causes me a great deal of irritation. Because, the number one thing in life is this. I'm not out to get you. I'm out to make everything transparent. To have all the truth in front of us all. And I'm not going to condemn you for that truth. If the person would just tell me the truth and exactly what's going on and clarify exactly why it is that Denny's can always seem to have eggs when I go in there, even though they don't know when I'm going to show up, but the pharmacy can't have the drug that I go in there every fucking month for and I have to order it every fucking month. Yeah, I got a pretty lenient doctor about that, though. So the thing is, the answer has to be something that is a procedural block. Because I'm sure if they could order extra of it with me complaining about it at some point, they probably would have. But nobody's explained to me the warrant, What is the reason why you can't? With me telling you now, I can say, I will be here next month to pick up the same thing. So order it now and set it aside for me. I want an answer to that question. Why can't they do that? I'm sure there is an answer to it that is some sort of protocol thing, and they don't want to tell me for whatever reason. And that's the most annoying thing. When people think they're going to not answer my question and get the fuck away with it, is just unacceptable. If I ask a question, I expect it to be answered, and I expect the question I ask to be answered. I don't care who I'm asking or what I'm asking about. It's the least anyone can do when somebody engages them in conversation or asks them a question, is answer the question asked. That's always going to backfire with me, juxtaposed, because the next time I go into that pharmacy, which will be tomorrow or something, to get the script, I'm going to press all of these questions. And it's like the avoidance thing, it just prolongs this process. They don't get away with it. I will have my questions answered because they're perfectly reasonable questions. I'm asking them in a perfectly reasonable fashion, too. I'm not busting chops or whatever. I'm saying, I want you to explain this to me. Right, exactly. They've got it set up to the best of my ability such that nobody can get the drugs they're supposed to get on time if it's controlled substance at the level that mine is because of the 48-hour rule. So there's 0 point in calling in your prescription early to give them a better heads up that they're going to need to order this drug, because when I said, but look, why didn't you order it when you sent me this text 2 days ago saying I needed to wait 2 days? And he said, well, that's an automated text. Okay, yeah, it's an automated text. I understand that. And it's avoidant of my warrant. If your system can automatically text me that it's not time for me yet to pick it up, surely it can also automatically check to see if you have it. It's like, what are they prioritizing? They're not prioritizing my experience, because I drove down there based on the fact that the text said it would be ready on the 29th, and they tell me, no, they got the date wrong. It's actually not ready till the 30th. Not okay for me to pick up till the 30th. And And yada yada. Complain. You know. The thing is, it's generic for Adderall. I don't really care if it's today or tomorrow. You know, I'm gonna crash out tonight. Yeah, I do, Jackie Kitty. No. No. I'm looking forward to this tomorrow. Because I already have all the chains worked out. So it's like I know I'm going to ask this. I know they're going to respond with this, or this. I'm going to respond with this. And, you know, it's like I already know how the whole thing's going to play out. I'm at this point I'm just sort of testing. This is not the first pharmacy I've dealt with this with. I'm just sort of testing to see if at some point someone's going to try to just tell me the truth.
That's what you want.
I mean, mostly what I want is to say, after they tell me the truth, okay, so, note, I don't really give a fuck about any of that. I'm just shocked and concerned about why is it so hard for anybody to tell me this when I'm asking all the right questions and people just ignore me. Why you? Are you not listening to what I'm saying? You know, that's what I want to convey to these people. I want to shake them out of their reality so they start thinking a little bit.
Like, oh, this prescription is coming out. Let's get it ordered.
Because I don't doubt that there's
So, the Zennial, did you find out if your actual, if you're, like, not a horse? What comes before horse?
pony.
2014 through 13 was the snake. So I think it was snake goes before horse.
Well, Germany,
Oh.
let me tell you, I watched your dressage team the other day. Not impressed. Their horses didn't prance as prancily as some of the other horses. I actually didn't watch your dressage team. I did watch some dressage. What a weird sport. What an incredibly strange sport. Make your horse prance? Horse dancing? Is that what it is?
Hold on, I'll hook you up.
Dressage. They're not even doing anything. They're just step, 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 step. Everybody dressed all fancy in these like special riding suits. I want to mix dressage with synchronized diving.
Ooh, synchronized diving.
They need to add some difficulty to these horses.
The horses.
Yeah, well, I want the horses to dressage their way into splashless entries from the 10-meter high dive. You're a typical INFJ, introverted, and repulsive. Oh, I'm sorry, reclusive. Now trying to rapidly expand my circle of network and acquaintances. Hey, Jackie, Kitty, I want you to consider both Rachel and myself hereby acquainted. Okay? We are now acquaintances. I've been acquainted with you, and you have been acquainted with Rachel. Rachel's been acquainted with me. Thereby, vicariously, Rachel's been acquainted with you.
January 13th, 1978.
Best January 13th ever. I was 7 years old.
Snake.
I was...
Okay, so snakes, they always say that if you have a snake in your house, like a snake person who lives in your house, you'll never go hungry. Like the fridge is always stocked. They're mysterious, and they are really into like mysteries. Like not necessarily like occult things, you can't go into that, but just like conspiracy theories.
One of us in this room is the murderer.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Not more like conspiracy theories, though. Better to be acquainted than antiquated, true. Just like it's better to be decapitated than deprecated. Or do I have that backwards? It's better to be defenestrated than what rhymes with defenestrate? Deministrate? Is this what it's all come to, Chuck Baker? Well, sometimes it's what it comes to, okay? I am an ENTP who's chatting on the internet with people. I'm a pleasant personality who wants to engage you in what matters to you, Chuck Baker. Hey, everybody, let's stop being so selfish. Let's pay attention to Chuck Baker. Chuck, what would you like to talk about? We want to engage your important topic.
Because you're dealing with it well. Like, when I found out that I was a rat, I had an existential crisis for a day, but I was like, oh my god, the United States hates rats. Like, that's a really... But then I grew to love it.
Okay, so Chuck's indicated that he'd like us to spend a little bit more time focusing on his scrotum and how lovely it is. The sheen, the wrinkles, the ball holding, all 9 yards of it. What do we all love currently? What do I love currently? I love rock hounding currently, and looking for places to go find weird rocks that we can hit open with a hammer and get agate and different kinds of minerals and stuff.
Yeah.
That's my current hobby passion, I guess.
Can we show the one that we got?
Of course.
With all the sparkles.
Yeah.
So there was this one that we opened yesterday, and it was particularly sparkly. And it was the one that me and Eric, like, I wasn't sure if I was going to get it or not. And I'm so glad that we did, because it ended up being very pretty.
And some of you may recognize it. It looks exactly like Chuck Baker's scrotum. Exactly like that. I've always said, Chuck, you've got one of the sparkliest scrotums I've ever seen.
No, I love all of our geodes. We have so many, it's so nice. And I have a little aura quartz that I'm gonna keep with me for good luck. Let's see if it brings good luck.
I don't really have a favorite crystal. I have, I think I like the lips geode probably best.
Let's
If
do
you wanna
rocks.
grab that one to show, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
I like this
like
one
my
because it looks like lips. And there's another half Yeah. Another half that also looks like this. This guy looks like he's got lips, legs, and an arm. Even
Yeah.
he's like a little guy with a one eye in the middle, like an alien. You know.
Yes.
But the other one looks like lips, even maybe a little bit more. And I think next time that we go to the Geode store,
Yeah.
I'm gonna give this one to the Geode guy because he has hung on his wall 2 eyes, and if you put this right below him, as he demonstrated himself when he cut it open, it looks great. It looks like a face, you know.
Yeah.
So I like the lips ones. It's cool the way that it's got this like one rock inside of another rock, you know.
And that's a gate, right?
This is what they call a thunder egg or an agate, I guess.
Agate. Yeah. I say it weird. Agate.
What do you guys think of whistleblowers? I mean, Jackie Kitty, my take is, as president, I would issue him a full pardon. Because exposing criminality in the federal government, especially after attempts were made to go through official channels, is not a crime. It is, in fact, an individual citizen doing their civic duty. So, and I tell you who's committed plenty of crimes are fucking James Clacker and fucktard McNSA head guy. Admiral Head up his ass. Whatever his name was. Yeah, I see Snowden as a hero who deserves full pardon. I mean, he's kind of a douchey guy, but that doesn't change the fact that Clapper, whatever. What did I call him? Cracker? Crack-tacker? I don't know.
But you had faith that someone would correct you. That's the magic of the stream.
That's why I got the fact check crew.
The clapper.
Okay, Jackie Kitty. Why don't you put a link to your channel? I'll make you a... What do they call it? Well, around here we call it a goderator. Because being a moderator around here is like being a god. You create the heavens and the earths. And you can put links. What else do we all love currently? Well, I love that we got plenty of weed. It seems pretty stony.
That's what I was thinking too.
Might last a little while. He's in Russia, I think. So Jackie Kitty, just put your link. Put your link to your channel. You don't gotta put it to your live stream itself. Don't worry about that. We'll find it from the channel. I'm curious. I'm gonna end this stream very soon, and you can start yours. I'll wait a little bit. If you want to get yours set up so you can put a link directly to the stream, that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't need to leave right this second. But yeah, I'm curious now about what your live stream will be like. That's sad. Unluckily, he didn't. Who didn't? Meow from the meow.
Guess what? Kitty was so good. There was a baby peacock who was crossing and like kept on like walking towards us, and she was like, "No, let's walk away." And I was like, "You're such a good kitty friend."
She is a good kitty.
Yeah.
So how long do you think you're actually going to, how long do you think you're going to actually be until you start streaming?
Subscribed.
So, like, start right now, you know. Oh, shit, wrong one. Jackie put a wrong channel.
Oh.
She put her channel about anal wreckage anonymous up. Now she's embarrassed. She wanted to keep that to herself. Hey, it's okay, Jackie. There are a lot of us here who are members, sometimes even founding members, sometimes even the president of Anal Wreckage Anonymous. You're not the only one who likes to put extremely and unreasonably large things up your own butt. We've all been there. We've all had to have a guitar surgically removed from our anus at least once. So don't feel shame about it. Oh, is that a different link? Okay, good. Let's see what her channel's all about. I hope it's all about putting on makeup. Shit, Coover. You're supposed to be proud of your town, Jackie. Be proud of your school, like you would with your girl or guy. Alright, I'm ready to end my live stream, and I'm ready to begin watching Jackie Kitty's live stream.
Yeah, me too.
Thanks for being here, everybody. And please, whatever else you may or may not forget, don't forget to eat plenty of cheese. Otherwise, you'll never grow up big and strong.